Obsidian Entertainment has given us quite a few great RPGs, with names like Knights of the Old Republic 2 and Fallout New Vegas all developed by the studio. Their most recent RPG, The Outer Worlds, which saw us take to space filled with mega corporations and adventure. Now the next game on their list, Avowed, goes for a more medieval fantasy which calls to mind games like the Elder Scrolls series and the Dragon Age series. So, how does Avowed stand against Obsidian Entertainment's already great catalog of games? Join us here at GameAid as we review Avowed. Avowed actually takes place in the same world as Pillars of Eternity, a game from another Obsidian franchise. You play as a godlike, which are people blessed by the gods with some mysterious power, but it also leaves them with strange fungi-like features on their face and head. The Emperor of the Adir has tasked your character with venturing off into a place called the Living Lands as an envoy to investigate a strange phenomena known as the Dream Scourge, a mind-warping affliction caused by spores that render their victims into something akin to husks. As the story progresses, the character must also solve the mystery of the voice they hear inside their head, which is a collective entity calling out to the protagonist from beyond. Your character has to deal with these strange happenings, all while carefully maneuvering the different political tensions found in the Living Lands. As an envoy and trusted advisor to the Emperor of Adir, a colonizing force in the world, you must step into the Living Lands only to be met with disdain and hatred. On top of facing political hostility, your character also faces a lot of prejudice by being a godlike, as depending on who you talk to, godlike individuals are either blessed or cursed, with their divine traits manifesting physically and thereby setting them apart from the rest of society. The character creation process reflects this deeply, allowing you to choose how these features present, from coral growths to tree branches sprouting from your hair. What makes this all more impressive is that these aren't just cosmetic choices. NPCs react differently depending on how you look. This is the freedom of choice that Obsidian Entertainment excels in, as every decision you make carries a lot of weight, from the background you choose to even small decisions like helping out certain NPCs. Depending on the choices you make, you may even find new allies or new enemies. This decision making also carries over to the game's many mechanics. As you create your character, you can also choose the type of background your godlike had before they were the envoy to the Emperor. Avowed features 5 different backgrounds, and all of them have their own specialties and strengths. You have your typical melee-focused one with the war hero, as well as more rounded ones like the noble scion. These backgrounds also affect your starting stats to fit your desired backstory. You were given the freedom to reallocate these stats before finalizing your character, which gives players a lot of ways to truly customize their godlikes to fit their playstyle. These stats aren't just for increasing your skills though, as having enough of a certain stat can also unlock more dialogue options when talking to the many people of the Living Lands. This also applies to the background you choose, as each background has special dialogue options which can affect the outcome of some quests. For our playthrough, we went with the Court of Augur, and it gave us quite a few dialogue options that helped us with understanding the Dream Scourge, as this background gave us knowledge on things of the magical nature. This gives Avowed a lot of replayability, as choosing a different background may open up some different endings to the many quests found in the game. The best thing about building the character is that you aren't really locked into the stats you picked in the beginning of the game. This system calls to mind games like Skyrim, where you are free to level up skills that would fit your unique playstyle. And Avowed did a great job with giving us the freedom to truly make the character our own. Avowed's gameplay shines in its flexibility, and the ability to mix and match skills from different classes allows for creative character builds. Although we started with a mage build, we ended up shifting through a hybrid of a ranger and a mage by allocating our stats to be more agile and to have a larger magic pool. This allowed us to unleash a flurry of sword attacks, as well as use some magic for that extra needed utility. Speaking of the game's combat, you also need to strategize and manage your resources even during the combat sections of the game. The game gives you 2 weapon slots for each of your hands, so you are able to bring 2 different weapon sets into combat. We went with having a sword and a dagger equipped for some quick attacks. Then we would switch to 2 pistols to take out enemies from a distance. This build allowed us to cheese some of the more difficult encounters by carefully depleting the boss's health from afar. Aside from keeping track of what weapon to bring to battle, you must also keep track of things like your mana and your stamina. You aren't just able to keep swinging your weapon, as there is a stamina cost to every action you do in combat. From dodging incoming attacks to firing your gun. Yes, firing a gun consumes stamina. You must keep track of your stamina or else you will be punished if you run out mid-combat, as the enemies are able to capitalize on this with a quick strike. This system of managing your stamina and the mana makes magic-based characters more resource-dependent than necessary. Avowed's combat has a lot of ways to strategize, as your build determines how you approach each encounter, which makes for a very engaging experience. One thing to note is that combat in Avowed can be tough, as there are difficulty spikes that can be punishing for unprepared players. Enemies don't really scale with you, so if you don't take the time to level up your gear, you will have a difficult time getting through the main story. The game demands preparation, whether that's leveling up, maximizing your gear, or using the right loadout for each encounter. Still, the ability to swap weapons and skills on the fly adds depth and adaptability. You are not alone when facing the dangers of the living lands though, as the game does introduce you to 4 party members that accompany you as you learn more about the Dream Scourge. All these party members all have their own special abilities, as well as their own thoughts on the decisions you make. The way they give their insights to the places and quests you embark upon makes exploring the world with them quite fun. Speaking of exploration, this also plays a big part with helping your character get stronger. Discovering new locations also gives you experience points to help you level up. And some of these locations may even have some great equipment for you to use to replace the common items you start with. There is also some unique equipment that gives you special buffs that can help you with your journey. Some of these items can even increase your stats as long as you equip them. Now, while the game's overall gameplay is solid, there are quite a few times where we felt like the main quest structure gets too repetitive. The main story quest is interesting enough to keep us going, but some of the side quests do feel like there were more that could have been done with them. While a minor complaint, it doesn't really detract from the overall experience of Avowed, and this game is shaping up to be one of Obsidian's greats. Even the visuals of the game looks like a lot of care was put into it. Obsidian has crafted a visually stunning world in Avowed, as the living lands are vibrant, filled with diverse environments, detailed cities, and atmospheric lighting. What makes Avowed's world stand out isn't just its scale, but its sense of history and purpose, as the living lands feel lived in, shaped by centuries of conflict, colonization, and mystery. Even the smallest corners of the map feel thoughtfully designed, rewarding those who take the time to stray from the beaten path, and it makes the world feel genuinely alive. These details extend to the game's major characters too, with the player character and the companions getting a big shout out with how striking they are. While in character creation, you can just make a generic character that fits the world. It is when you add the godlike features is when it gets a lot more interesting. Designing our player character with the godlike feature in mind made for a fun experience, as it was engaging to make a character based on these features. As for the companions, their designs also give off a unique vibe and personality with how they are dressed. Even the game's soundtrack complements the world beautifully, enhancing the emotional weight of key moments. The OST, albeit similar to one another, is well crafted, with the instruments blending seamlessly into the game's atmosphere, pulling you into the world without you even realizing it. Voice acting is strong, with well-delivered performances that bring characters to life.
That's why I admire the resolve. Living landers can be contrarian and combative. That's what sends a lot of us here in the first place.
Each of the companions' voices are well voice acted, and hearing your party banter makes exploring very enjoyable. Shout out to Kai and Marius, as their banter with each other made doing some quests fun.
Not with that. No. Oh, you mean healing him?
I've got stick prickle balm for the pain, but other than that, not much else I can do.
Avowed is a standout RPG that delivers an immersive world, a gripping story, and deep role-playing mechanics. Its narrative complexity and character depth elevate it beyond the typical fantasy RPG, making it a must-play for those who love a story-driven experience. That's why we here at GameMate are giving Avowed an 88 out of 100. While there are quite a few nitpicks we have about the game, like the repetitive quest structure and the constant micromanaging of resources, the game does a great job of showcasing why Obsidian Entertainment are good at what they do, and that is to make great RPGs. So, what do you guys think about Avowed? Did Obsidian give us another great RPG to play through? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more gaming related content. This has been GameMate and we'll see you in the next video.